Welcome to The Explainer. So today, we're going to dive into a really radical idea, one that connects the deep, deep past of biological life with the very near future of artificial intelligence, and maybe, just maybe, the fundamental structure of the universe itself. So let's just jump right in with a question that gets to the heart of it all. We all know life evolved over billions of years, right? It got really, really good at staying alive. But what about AIs? Do they actually need to go through that same long, slow, messy process to learn the rules of the game? All right, so to even begin to answer that, we've got to understand the rules of the game itself. What are the core principles that allow any system, anything, to persist instead of just fading away into randomness? And what's so fascinating here is that these aren't, conscious strategies. These are deep, fundamental principles that just emerged from the simple, relentless pressure of natural selection. If you didn't follow them, you just didn't stick around. It's that simple. Okay, first up, and this one's kind of the most obvious, right? You have to maintain viability. It's the absolute baseline. If a system, any system at all, doesn't actively work to keep itself going, well, it just ceases to exist. It is rule number one for a very good reason. Next up is autopoiesis, which is just a fantastic word for self-production and self-maintenance. See, it's not enough to just exist. A living system has to be constantly rebuilding and repairing itself. Think of a cell replacing its own proteins, or an animal healing a wound. All right, rule number 3. This one's all about making the world predictable. Any organism that can build a good, accurate model of its environment, reducing surprise, reducing uncertainty, is just going to be more stable. It's far less likely to be caught off guard by a predator or, a sudden storm. Then we have empowerment. And really, this is all about keeping your options open. The more influence an agent has over its own future, the more paths it can take, the more robust it becomes. I mean, a creature that can run and climb and swim has a much better shot at survival than one that can only do one of those things. And last but not least, all of this, everything we've just talked about, it has to be done on a budget. Energy isn't infinite. So the systems that actually persist are the ones that achieve all these other goals without wasting precious resources. Efficiency is the ultimate tiebreaker in the game of survival. Okay, so you might be thinking, that's great for biology, but how does any of this apply to artificial intelligence? We've seen these rules emerge over eons in nature, but AI, it doesn't have that kind of time. Well, it turns out they absolutely do converge on these exact same principles. But, and this is the key, they get there through a totally different and, frankly, way, way faster path. Instead of slow, plodding evolution, they use rapid, targeted optimization. And this slide just illustrates the difference perfectly. Biology finds these solutions through this slow, random, generation-by-generation process. AI, on the other hand, is guided there through intentional design and incredibly fast mathematical optimization. It's kind of like the difference between a river carving a canyon over millennia and an engineer digging a canal in a week. So how in the world does this actually happen? Well, instead of natural selection, engineers just build in a simple constraint, like don't crash the drone. That's viability right there. Then the learning algorithms reward stable, predictable behavior, which is just another way of minimizing free energy. And they can compress the equivalent of eons of experience into just hours of training. Okay, so let's pause for a second. The really crucial point here is that we're seeing the exact same 5 rules pop up in 2 completely different places: messy, slow biology, and clean, fast computation. And that suggests these rules aren't just about life or just about AI. And this is where things get really wild. It's where this explainer takes a turn from the familiar into something, well, much, much bigger. What if we've been looking at this through the wrong lens the whole time? What if these aren't rules for living things, but rules for existing things? So let's really lean into this mind-bending idea that the universe itself, the very fabric of space-time, might be playing by the exact same rulebook. In some of the wildest, most cutting-edge parts of physics, scientists are starting to see space-time not as some static, boring backdrop where things happen, but as this dynamic, emergent system that has to actively maintain itself moment to moment out of a churning sea of quantum fluctuations. And when you look at it this way, what's just incredible is how perfectly everything maps over. The biological drive to stay alive, Well, that becomes spacetime's need to remain stable. Cellular self-repair becomes the constant self-reconstruction of reality itself through quantum processes. And following paths of least action in physics, that's just another way of minimizing surprise and being efficient. It's an uncanny parallel. So why? I mean, really, why does this happen? Why do we see this incredible convergence between biology, AI, and even fundamental physics? What is the common thread here? The answer is, they're not rules for life at all. They are the absolute, necessary, mathematical conditions for any organized pattern to persist over time. Any system that hopes to endure, whether it's a cell, a robot, or the entire cosmos, has to obey them. If it doesn't, it simply dissolves back into noise. And that, right there, is the ultimate takeaway. These different fields, they're all studying the exact same fundamental thing. Self-organizing processes trying to carve out a stable existence in a universe that is defined by uncertainty and limited resources. I mean, think about what this quote is saying. It completely reframes everything. The drive to act, to have agency, to be autonomous, that isn't something we invented. It's an echo of the very same principles that hold the universe together. We are just a particularly complex expression of a universal tendency. So I'm going to leave you with a final thought to chew on. If these rules apply to life and to AI and to the very fabric of space-time, what else do they apply to? Look around you. From economies to ecosystems to social structures, you might just find that this universal survival guide is being used absolutely everywhere.